Hi, I'm Phil from Driftworks. This is the DW86, and in the last episode you saw us spend an eternity making a cross member that converts to front rack BMW for Fab. And in this episode I'm hoping to actually have a look at bolting some of the fancy blue bits on. So yeah, it's a Saturday today, no Jay unfortunately. I've had another week tied to my desk pretty much unfortunately. So yeah, I'm keen to make a little bit of progress 1 week at a time, even if it means coming in for a couple of hours on a Saturday. So yeah, as I said last episode, we spent ages making this. It still needs powder coating to be finished, but we're going to finish all the fab work first before we do that. And I think the first thing that I'm going to do is have a look at bolting the fancy lower arms. So, that's one of the knuckles. Gonna have a look at bolting one of these fancy lower arms on to see whether, in my particular use, this point from here to here is too long. Because obviously you want to have as much angle as possible on these drift cars, but if you make this excessively long, it just makes the wheel poke out the arch. And I would like to, if I can, still have reasonable fitment on this thing. I'm not a fan of cars that poke front wheels outside of the arches. So let's bolt some stuff on and then see how many years of work is required to make these work. I think I can already see an issue here. So the way this clears the tie rod, because it's front rack, the tie rod goes through here. And this point is almost certainly going to hit here. Dunk. And yeah, this is as a result of obviously trying to fit parts to a car that are not meant for this car. And specifically, the S14 position here was 40mm lower on this inboard mounting point here. And that would have introduced basically worse roll center. So if the arms mounted here, and to get the ride height that you want, the arms would have been pointing up like this, which is a big no-no. So I had to do this. I'm just going to see whether I can work a way around it. What I'm wondering is, it's not designed for this, but what about if I put the left version on the right here? And then if that's not going to work, might be looking at making something custom. Just for a change. Well, that's much better. And actually, I guess it ultimately depends. I need to find out what my maximum bump is here. So I'm going to need to put the knuckle on, take the spring off the coilover, mount it all up, and then jack a wheel up here and see where I had my bump stop set and whether I need to adjust this all to get all of the vertical travel that I want, because obviously I want as much suspension travel as possible. So yeah, start bolting some more parts on. 'Cause it looks like I don't know what I'm doing. I think it's probably been about 15 years since I did one of these on an S-body. So yeah, go nuts in the comments. You're doing it all wrong. Four hours later, I got myself a gap. I won't say how. Probably about 35 minutes since I turned that camera off. got it. My God. Obviously it's not going back on, but I don't have these in stock, these bearings, so I didn't want to lose the rest of the day to giving up. But yeah, what a battle. Time for a cup of tea. This is the hilarious bit where you see how much camber it's got if I leave it as it comes out of the box. Camber. I mean, look how far the hub face is poking out as well. This is going to get interesting. If you watched the first video, you may remember me taking some reference measurements of where it was before. So I'm just going to get back to that point and then start laughing or crying, possibly both, about how much work's going to be involved. I'm desperately trying not to even entertain the idea that we're going to have to modify the crossmember some more. I think it might kill poor Jay. And the hilarious bit. .9 degrees. Maybe a little excessive. So yeah, looks like that's going to be possible to move that mounting point inboard and still have enough room here for this arm to travel. Now, before I go drilling any holes in that cross member, I kind of need to check what sort of clearance I've got for a wheel at angle here. I have a suspicion I'm going to have to go for a smaller front tyre as well as a higher offset wheel, but I'll probably need to work that out at this point. Looks pretty good. It's not quite as broken looking as I was hoping the steering would look, but there's lots to play with here. So obviously, like all the Wise Fab kits, all the ones that I know of, you've got this adjustable bump stop here. My car obviously is a little bit unusual because the wheel base of the car is stretched. This lower arm mounting point, the outboard one, is quite far forward probably compared to an S14. But it's certainly not looking bad as a starting point. Everything's kind of just hovering. Wheel's got clearance at the back there, and obviously what I'm looking to do here is move the wheel as far that way as I can, while still retaining clearance. I think the issue that I'm looking at the moment is that the wheel has a little bit too much droop at the moment. I think possibly I need to measure it, but the measurement from the pin here to the McPherson mounts might be different on the Geomasters. I'll have a quick measure and see whether that's the case, because I think the droop is what is causing this really excessive angle here, obviously, as well as camber. So the further that goes in that way, the better, ultimately. And it's looking currently like, you can see the rod end position roughly there. I don't know, quick eye guess, 30 mil. So maybe that goes 40 mil, and that's optimal. And then we can start looking at making this mount. Yeah, lots more to measure, lots more to look at, lots more to consider. So after much thought and quite a lot of time messing about with this, I have come to a conclusion, and that is that all of that work that I did to push the lower arm mounting position back to A86 position rather than S14, I shouldn't have done. But I was never going to find that out until I'd done this. So it looks like to get to the lock, because this is a one-piece lower arm here, obviously, and I could cut and shut it if I need to. I could do lots of stuff. I could kind of do whatever is required, but ultimately the lock stop position here is hitting the lower arm. And if you imagine this arm in the A86 inboard mounting point, this arm is kind of kinked this way. You imagine what that does to the lock stop position here. Essentially, it means that it hits way too early. You don't get anywhere near enough steering angle. Now, I could chop that off the knuckle. I could do lots of other stuff, but ultimately, it looks like that lower arm, inboard lower arm mounting point needs to be further forward, as well as inboard, which we'll get to in a bit. And I figured probably the best way to work out where this arm is supposed to sit is to go to the in-stock shelf over here. And get the car down that those arms are meant to fit, and bolt one of them up and take some measurements, like probably using a plumb bob from the turret, where the damper's going to mount, dangle that down and see where that outer ball joint is supposed to sit when that arm is mounted to an S15. Probably not making any sense. I've got an idea in my head. I'm going to pull the S15 down, the very dusty S15, and start bolting some stuff up and see whether I can make sense of it all. Pretending he's got a real Tisley job.
Yeah, £10 mate.
£10? It's £3. What are you on about?
£3
£3. Well, it used to be. It's not anymore. That's looking a little bit better. We figured it deserved a little bit of attention, and I wanted to leave it running for a while because it was a little bit smoky. I was a little bit concerned. SR life and that. Nice complicated bit of setup on S15. Other bits removed, and I've drilled a little hole here where the position of the Wisefab top mount puts stuff. Still within the PCD, it's just that hole there, and it's held in place with a magnet. So the idea with this, the car's leveled, and this gives me the ability to measure a position from the center of this here. I've got a straight edge going right down to the center of that inner bearing there, and it allows me to, in theory, tell how far inboard this the top mount is, and the distance from that center line to here as well, so I can, in theory, replicate it exactly or as close as the car will allow on the 86. Now, to measure this It's a three-handed affair, so there'll be no cameras involved, but I just thought I'd quickly show you. Oh, he's messed it up already. You get the idea. Straight edge against there, that gives me my position on this straight edge, and then I measure the distance from that point to there with a stable plumb bob. You get the idea. Right, just so I've got it on video so I can reference it, this is 135 mil. You're reading 335, but it's 135 mil from the outboard ball joint position to that plumb bob there, and then I'll measure the distance from the straight edge to that in a moment. But yeah, 135 mil. And this one is 65 mil. Okay, the same thing set up on the 86, and so I've just got it hanging on the front edge of this at the moment, and it's in the standard hole position, so I know that that is too far outboard. That will need to go in, and this confirms it because we set up the same, and we are looking at 180 mil on this, so that is 45. That's 45 mil further outboard than it is on the S15 in relation to this top point. And then the measurement from the same center line to the plumb bob there is 10 mil too far that way, so it's 10 mil more, so I've got 75 mil measurement there. So actually that means that this position that I've got it in here, it needs to go back. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with where that's at. My hope is that if I send that in 45 mil, that all the geometry is going to work as it's supposed to, and hopefully I'll have the wheel clearance that I need. But that the only point I'll be able to work that out is by drilling the hole in the cross member, moving the cross member, and then bolting a wheel up with the hub and doing another swing. But yeah, it is looking, I'm not going to say too promising, but it is looking all right. Jay's turn for the dirty work.
The fun time.
And you'll notice he's in a t-shirt. It must be summer.
I mean, it's first time. First time since I was in Vegas, I think.
You still had your heated body warmer on until this morning?
Well, it's this afternoon, to be fair.
Just undoing all the hard work. Okay, part one of Jay's hard work undone. My measurements are 60 mil, so for now we're moving this 60 mil forward. For now we're just gonna drill one hole, mount it up and test it all with one hole. Yay! Using the bench as we're meant to, it's bolted to this way so that I can drill this nice hole here. Another hour later. Okay, bit more grinding, bit more drilling. I've got a temporary bolt in there. I've got this leveled up where I want it to be, so this position's correct. Take a bit more out of here, but yeah, it's not looking too bad at all. I've got an arch on there as well. And I think I've just measured this at 5.8 degrees, which is a tiny bit too much. However, it is looking like it's possible. I think that needs to come forward. I think the caster needs to come forward there, because I think the position that's hitting is not quite right. But yeah, it's looking like I'm going to curse myself by saying this, be able to do this and still fit it underneath these arches. Yeah, that's not enough lock for this kit. So yeah, I'll make some measurements and some adjustments, and we'll see what we can get. Loving the caster adjustments. That's how you do it. Very clever system. So that's now jacked up, car's level, arms jacked up. Everything's kind of bolted up in place as I think it should be. Bit pokey there. Might have to do something about that. Yeah, pretty happy with that. That's 6 degrees camber, a bit more than I want as well. Pretty reasonable. You also have to be mindful of that, but that looks like quite a lot for the Ackerman that I'll be running on this thing. Yeah. More progress, still loads more to do. So could only get it down to -6 degrees negative camber on this, so we've done what we always do. And that is we've slotted out the holes in this, put some washers, got some washers that fit, and ground it all up nicely so we can just get the position that we need and tack these washers in place, and that'll make that permanent. As you can see here, we've pulled it out a lot, so it's got way too much poke now, but yeah, I think it looks like we've reduced the camber too much here, so I'm just going to get the camber gauge on it, bash it into place hopefully, and then we can tack those washers. You'll have to excuse the noise of the forklift. I've got the doors open. It's summer.
Wow.
It's 10 degrees.
We're not going for summer.
So probably a little bit more. Okay.
Can you track that still or not? Oh,
Yeah, so that much there. Can you do that bottom one up now? Because that's what's holding that one. So if we're gentle, I'll double check this before we do it. We should be able to remove the wheel and throw some tacks on those washers, and then every time I put this back on, it should have exactly the correct kingpin inclination. Very gently. Just a gnat's cut below 5 degrees, so happy days. Time for the Arctic.
Wow.
And a skilled welder.
Wow, something like that. Something like that.
It's only tacks, it's not very exciting, you're not going to miss much.
A bit more power.
More power.
I know, I've got it.
I'll do a bit,
No, it's fine.
well, tough now. You're going to
Have more power.
melt through it.
Got more power. That's got more power.
Better.
Yeah. It looks like you got some of your favourite tools out.
That's my actual favourite tool, I think, ever, but
Yeah.
I think it's your least favourite tool, isn't it?
Yeah, because it doesn't tell me what I want to see normally.
And you're too lazy to make it do what you want to see.
Ah, it's always close enough.
Yes, in case, in case you didn't know. In case you didn't know.
I'll
So what we're
educate
doing
you.
here is measuring the caster, which we're looking for around about 3 degrees on this kit, in theory, which is extremely low, but that's what Wise Fab kits are made to do. And that number there says that I'm pretty happy. So,
Oh, yeah, 2.9. Oh, not bad.
So, I think I've left that slightly loose there. What a fucking pigsty I've made of the workshop. So let's see.
I'm sure I'll
whether
tidy that up at some point.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. Let's see whether this.
Oh, is this the caster adjuster, is
Yeah,
it?
it's very clever.
Oh,
So,
cool.
in theory, it should change. I might have to. Oh no.
You gotta do
I
the
have to
sweep
set
again?
the baseline.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've just wound that in, pulled the wheel forwards at the bottom a little bit. So in theory, that's now got a little bit more caster. So I don't even know why I'm doing it. I'm going to have to redo it again. All I'm trying to find out is that if I've roughly got the wheel in the right place, which I seem to have. So we can probably permanentize all of my temporary work, shall we call it?
Ah, that looks
And
pretty solid.
That's a temporary hole. So this is the new hole versus the original hole. S14 fitment and.
Oh, we need to
fitment.
redo these plates as well, don't we?
Yeah, and we haven't even started looking at.
We don't even have the rack
tie rod.
fits. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's going to be next. Now that I've got that caster set up, I can then look at whether the tie rod is going to clear as it's supposed to with this lower arm upside down. So that's my next 7 hours of measurements.
Cool. Your favourite?
fire. Just making this permanent for the second time.
Double permanent.
Yeah. Yeehaw. Do yourself a favour.
Dormer for the
Honestly,
people. Yeah.
Big money. Well worth it. Well worth it. Machinist, look away again, please.
Yeah.
So there we go, my lovely finished item. Knock the edges off on the linisher so I can get a weld down the sides here, or Jay can get a weld down the sides. And just so you know what that piece is, it's gonna fit there. I'm gonna do the final drill and tap that to M16 1.5 once this is welded, because sometimes stuff moves. I wouldn't expect it to move too much because it's a good old big thick bit of metal. I might do some decorative corners on this, a nice chamfer on the top as well. But yeah, you get the general idea, and the point of this is to drop this out of the way of the steering arm that comes through here. It's one of those dangerous Saturdays where I'm left to my own devices and I come up with more ideas. I've actually just leveled up the engine. I brought it down at the nose quite a bit to have just a slither of clearance for the steering rack here. And in doing so, it's kind of pulled it away from the bulkhead. It's up on the ramp, sorry, I can't see. So it's tipped the nose down and pulled the back of the engine away from the bulkhead a bit. And that has obviously made me think, well, I can get the engine a bit further back then, can't I? So I've just measured it all up. Made myself some tabs for the monstrosity of a gearbox crossmember that we've got. Again, I think this was in the first episode we were working on this, and it's all temporary. It's just to allow us to get the gearbox in the position that we need it to, and then once we know 100% that these are the parameters that we need, we'll make a nice version of it. But yeah, just going to do some welding of some tabs to push the engine and gearbox back another 30mm. So at this point in the video, the game kind of changed. I got invited to an event called Ultrace in Poland. And my first thought was, I can't really do that. The car's in pieces and there's no chance of me getting it together. And then I actually thought, what's really required to actually make some significant progress on this car is a deadline. That's how you get stuff done. So I thought, I'd say yes. And yeah, that means that it's no longer casual weekends and fitting in work where I can. It's full on, let's go. We've got 2 months to get this car to a running, driving, new built engine, new wiring loom, new ECU, new headers, new exhaust, new suspension, new everything. Fully working car. So to get it all kicked off, I spent the week with Jay, primarily in the workshop, whilst doing my office work at home in the evenings. So one of the biggest, most time-consuming jobs was going to be creating the new manifolds headers for this thing. If you watch this channel for any amount of time, you know that I'm really particular about exhausts. And there's one man in particular who really gets that, and that is Adam from Fabco. He very kindly agreed to fit us in very last minute at a point in time that really worked out well for us because Jay was going on holiday for a week. So number one, the engine needs to be mounted 100%. The gearbox cross member needs to be mounted so that the gearbox is going to be exactly where it needs to be. The prop shaft needs to be on, shortened and on. Most of the ancillaries need to be put on the front of the engine, and one of the biggest things was making sure that we've got the steering column in place. So yeah, we've got like a couple of days to do this, and then we'll be dropping the car on the trailer and dropping it over at Fabco. Jay's been busy on the plasma cutter and the welder this morning.
And the hammer and everything else.
And the press. But yeah, we've got ourselves number one engine mount. I've just leveled up the engine with him as well, and we're ready to fire some MIG at the cross member. Very permanent. Burned in.
We're finally at the point we can show our welds on the internet.
Well, that weld's alright, isn't it? Yeah. You know, we did a little bit of cleaning up on that one. It's fine. No, it's a good job. Solid. So as you can see, we've got a very, very solid engine mount there, bolted together. We're going to do some triangulation on this engine mount side of things here. It's going to be triangulated, but we figured we'd do the other side first and make sure everything's still 100% square. But yeah, it's looking pretty good, that. So there we go, done. Figured I should probably mention, because this is something that people mistake quite a bit with suspension arms, is that creating this drop here has made absolutely no change to the way the suspension works whatsoever. It's just for clearance, so it just allows me more room here. Alignment arms, like suspension arms, essentially all that matters is when you've got pivot point one end, pivot point the other, is you draw a straight line between that, and that's the thing that affects suspension. And where you mount these things, obviously in the cross member, the hole that it's drilled into, that matters, and whether you've got a drop knuckle or not, that matters. But you could literally have a banana shaped piece of metal between these two pivot points, and it would make absolutely no difference to how the suspension works, other than obviously you need to be mindful of the structural integrity of the thing. We've got a new steering column. Well, I say new, it's an old one off Range Rover, was it, Jay?
L322, yeah.
L322, and that requires some modification. So if you thought suspension was complicated, actually, I was going to say this is worse, but it's not.
It was all going really smoothly till we got carried away.
No, I don't think it's not getting carried away as such. It's just having the foresight to know how much of a problem, just pick that up for me, how much of a problem this is going to be if we don't do what I'm proposing. So we've already cut this one piece that we've got here. That's the steering rack end there. We could have kind of a straight shot, I don't know whether you can see, into the inside there, and that we wouldn't need this extra UJ in the middle here, But what this does is massively restrict the space here for our gigantic 2-inch primaries, which are going 2-inch into 2 1/8 or 2 1/4, I can't remember. The idea is that this has got a bearing race that we've pulled off there, and we can move it over and give ourselves quite a bit more room there for lots and lots of pipes without interfering with the starter. Turn a bit of scrap into a new bearing platform. It's going to sit here instead of there. That's my new bearing platform, and we're just going to take the rest of it in place, and then I'll take it back to the lathe. Okay, it's dialed back in, and then just need to turn this down for my bearing support, simply. That didn't take me 45 minutes.
Yeah, so you must have been at half an hour to get it to move.
That's what you get when a Craig Taylor makes your engine mounts for you.
Craig Strong.
No messing about. What a mission. Yeehaw.
Right.
So, dummy bot block, some old head gaskets.
Dope.
We've cleaned everything off a little bit. It's still rough as, but yeah. All we've got to test now is my measuring, because obviously pushing the engine back, I measured pretty precisely to make sure that this head fits. Let's see whether, yeah. And you've got to not scratch the bottom of it putting it on.
Well, let's hope for the best.
Should I put the camera down, or you got this?
No, well, we'll do it. I'll probably get my fingers stuck, but let us see.
Let me feel. Down. It did go. We just had to take the studs out.
You've made the most of the small car.
I went in rocker cover. Yeah, I think we're good.
The car will move out of the way.
Yeah, it feels so wrong having these posh heads on this crusty, broken block, but this is a necessary evil because we want to make absolutely sure that the work that Adam's doing on the headers
Can move a bit.
yeah, needs ideally could do with a dowel.
Let me go and see how grumpy he is about rendering something else.
Dowels.
Can you remember the last time we rushed this much?
I don't remember the last time I did sweating.
No, this isn't how we do. This isn't how we do cars or drifting.
To be honest with you, I'm just saying it's quite good fun. It's really quite nice to have something to aim for. And whether we make it or not, who bloody knows?
Yeah, we've set our sights quite high.
Yeah.
For us.
For us, definitely.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm inspired. I've been watching James Dean, and if he can do that thing within that many days, we can do something.
We don't do 7 days a week. Or 24 hours a day either.
We ain't doing no 3 o'clock in the morning, that's for damn sure.
Well, maybe the night before it leaves, but otherwise not a chance.
Okay.
One careful load, another race will run it.
That's it.
Sweet.